Okay, so for the last remaining rump few of you who find mobile phones and all that modern stuff a bit difficult, like Nigel, yes, could you please download the application now? Because for the networking and asking the questions, the application is great. So can you, so for the last couple of you, please download the application. We'll see if we can get some tech support for you down the back.
If you could. Yeah,
get away.
You. Wow, good morning, everyone. Now, believe it or not, I have been in the payment space for 30 years. Now, I know I don't look that old, but in 1989, I joined payments as an engineer. So, all the way back then, I was doing bits and bytes and hardware, and then I moved to product management. Now, that was different because we actually spoke to customers, and we'd listen to what customers thought they wanted, and then we tried to convince the engineers it was the right thing to do. And now, I'm in marketing. And I love my job now. And the reason I love my job is what I do is I look at the industry as a whole. I'm not at the coalface anymore. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to stand here from a perspective of more of the consumer-merchant interaction, the end point, really at the sharp end. So what I did is I went on the internet and I sort of researched Keynote. What should you do as a keynote speaker? Well, quite interestingly, I have to set the scene for the conference. That's number one. Number two, I should say some profound statements. Number three, back those up with some analytics to make me look as though I know what I'm talking about. And then at the end of the presentation, I just throw in a new technology, something that's going to change our lives. But I have a very different approach when I present. I like to inspire. Now, what I mean by inspire is I've sat where you are now and listened to so many presentations. I've lost count. And a presentation that inspires me is a presentation that when I walk out of the room afterwards, there may be just one thing in my mind that wasn't there before. Might be something new, different way of thinking, but something that made that 20 minutes investment in my life worthwhile. So, this man here, he's my hero, Albert Einstein. Now, the reason he's my hero is not because he's an amazing scientist or was. The reason I like the way he looked at the world is he looked at problems. And what he did is he understood a problem. He looked at the problem. He actually immersed himself in it before he actually generated a solution. And I like my quotes. And this is a good quote from Einstein. If he saw a problem, he would take 55 minutes understanding the problem in an hour, and then 5 minutes identifying a solution. Now, I often wonder if Einstein was sitting in that audience there listening to me now, or listening to all the keynotes, I wonder if he'd be inspired by the new technologies. BitChain and BitChain and BitChain, or whatever even BitChain is. But actually, what it would be, I think he would wonder what were the problems we were trying to resolve. As an industry, in a payments industry, what were we trying to do? So it's not the technology he would be interested in, it's our process of thinking of a solution. So on this note, what I would say is how did we go from this to this? Now, I must say the first black and white picture does look like my mum a few years ago, but what I ask ourselves is, did we ask these young ladies what they wanted from the experience? Probably not. We took technology and we actually implemented it. And on the merchant side, how did we go from this to this? Did we ask merchants what tools they needed to help run their business? Now, I'm sure some of us did, but did we do it 55 minutes out of an hour? I'm sure we didn't. So, interesting slide, isn't it? So what I was going to do is, I thought, what technology have we introduced that would actually show, did we take enough time to think about the problem? An MPOS. Now, MPOS is very close to my heart. I've presented about MPOS now for 5 years. When I joined Spire, I was the MPOS product manager, so I lived MPOS. And what I did is I looked at all the presentations I've given over the years at MPE, at MPOS World, when that was an event, and I took the front slide of each presentation. So back in 2014, 2013, this was the first slide in my presentation. So at that time, we had this technology called MPOS. And what it was is we didn't even know if it was technically possible. We were keeping ourselves up at night thinking about we haven't got a printed receipt. It's amazing. So the following year, we got over the technical problems. But still, we didn't really understand the business case. So as an industry, we were fighting with this technology. And then, well, this is 2015 now. More people were starting to invest. We had the idea, we had some successes. So I was presenting to say, this technology is the elephant in the room. If you don't accept it, if you don't harness it, you'll be left behind. Wow, 2016. What we were thinking now is, we've invested. There's no turning back. We're here. We are on this train. And the idea of the red and the blue pills was from one of my favorite films, The Matrix. So I presented, I said you could take the blue pill and you could go back to normality, the traditional POS world. Or you could take the red, believe in MPOS, and live in Wonderland and see how far the rabbit hole would take you. Wow. Last year, you can see my PowerPoint skills are improving. MPOS, the truth is out there. Come on, believe in it. It is working, it's out there, but can we really see the wood for the trees? So I find this fascinating. It's like my 5-year journey of presenting about a technology. And the end result? Wow. It's taken its time. It really has. It's getting traction now, but it's taken its time. And this is time for another Einstein quote. A person who never makes a mistake never tried anything new. Now, I'm not really saying MPOS is a mistake. I don't think it is by any means. I think the mistake is how we looked at that technology, how we decided that was the right technology for a problem, even if we knew the problem even existed. Now, what I would say, what MPOS has done is it's changed the business in payments forever. Why? Nothing to do with the technology. What it's to do with, it's the new people that have entered the space. They think differently. They question why we do things. And we can see this now with changes in regulations and also a lot more players in the space. Basically, the establishment is being questioned, us here. And I must say, from being up here 4 or 5 years ago to now, there are definitely a lot less grey suits in the audience. So something is happening. So what lessons have we learned? Because this is the key thing. Understand the need before designing or developing a solution. It's pretty obvious, really. Appreciate different markets, verticals, and geographies have different needs. In MPOS, we were trying to sell the same device to a cafe in Bristol compared to a street vendor in India. Is that really right? Do not underestimate people's connection with cash. Well, the German taxi drivers will tell you that, because I can't pay by card. I find it very difficult when I come here. And of course, we thought MPOS was the silver bullet. It was going to be the change of the payment space. In 2011, it was predicted by 2017 that about 46% of all new POS devices sold would be MPOS. Well, we know that hasn't happened. Marketing. Well, yeah, of course. I'm very close to marketing. Marketing the product correctly. That's key. The projects we've been involved in with Spire, the ones that have been most successful, is where you educate everyone in the value chain. So it's the end user, it's the merchant, it's the help desks, it's the way the branches sell the proposition. It's very important. And of course, springboarding off catalysts in markets. What we're seeing in certain markets, there's a drive to remove cash. Czech Republic, for example. Another one is Saudi Arabia. They're pushing hard now. And what this does is this encourages the sale of these solutions because they're the cheapest way of taking cards for a merchant. And finally, the MPOS business case. I've stood on stages like this and spoken for half an hour about the business case of MPOS because people still struggle. But it's more than just transaction volumes. This is part of a solution suite. This is part of adding value to the customer. However, if you hit the sweet spot, you get success. So, low-cost card acceptance leveraged by government schemes. Multi-application tablets linked to an MPOS device in small merchants has got great traction. There's real value there. And diversification into niche sectors. We sell MPOS products and solutions to customers that use it just for identification, not payment at all. So really, what I'm saying is, if we spent the 55 minutes at the beginning out of the hour, would we have sort of made this all go a bit quicker and actually hit the sweet spot a lot earlier? So, what are the hot topics today? Well, MPOS is not a hot topic anymore. But you're going to hear about all sorts of things the next few days. Pin on glass. You're going to hear about blockchain, Bitcoin, smart POS, biometrics, coming back again and again. Now, the thing is, you can probably guess it's a time for another Einstein quote. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So really what I'm saying is these technologies may be amazing, but what problem are we trying to solve? What need are we trying to address? Because something can be so amazing, but if it doesn't deliver, it won't gain traction. So, I've picked smart POS. Now, smart POS is the concept whereby you take an MPOS device and a tablet and you merge them into one. Now, will smart POS be a very slow developer like MPOS? Well, I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because we should have learned some lessons. The need. What smart POS is doing is providing an Android platform to run multi-applications and take payments for medium to large-size merchants. Now, we know this works for MPOS, so it will work for smart POS. This time, we're not just developing one product and trying to push that into all market sectors. We're developing ranges of products. And we now know that one technology isn't the silver bullet. So we understand smart POS will be complementary. Marketing, well, we've learned. So we'll use the very similar successful project approaches that we did with MPOS. The business case, well, there's a lot of potential here. Now what we're seeing is the endpoint is a platform for providing multiple applications and value to the merchant and the consumer. Android is open platform and powerful. There are turnkey applications available today. So it's simple and seamless. Now, Spire Payments' strapline is transaction, interaction, convergence. Transaction is the endpoint. Interaction is the applications that sit on the endpoint, but convergence is what we're seeing with smart POS. We're seeing these technologies come together, as they did in the telco space, to provide a very powerful platform. So, my last slide. So over the next 3 days, if you find yourself listening to someone presenting about a technology that is amazing, always think what it's trying to deliver. Is it really addressing a need? That's so important. And of course, there's white space up there, so I'm going to end on a quote. I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction. Because after all, human interaction is something that's very key in whatever we do in our business lives. So thank you very much for listening. I'm here for all 3 days, and our booth is just outside that door. So please come and visit and ask any questions you wish. Thank you.